going on, everybody? We are here for season 2 of Puck Drop with Cutting Edge. I'm back. I'm Coach Kevin Geist. I'm here with Mr. Logan Brown, and we're going to be kicking off again for another summer of Puck Drop with Cutting Edge. We're very excited for it, and I'm gonna kind of let Logan take the reins right now for this first episode. So, what's going on, Logan? How are we?
Doing great. I'm Logan Brown. I'm a junior coach at Cutting Edge. I'm a former Cutting Edge King Cobra. Played for Coach Geist for a couple of years back in the days. I'm just excited to work here now full time as a coach, social media guy. So I'm happy to be brought on, bring this podcast to you guys over the summer. So first thing we're kind of getting into was just playoff hockey's going on right now. I'm sure everyone at home is watching. You know, Eastern Conference Finals just finished up yesterday. Florida got the job done. So I guess we'll kind of get right into that. Coach Kevin, as a coach of both a youth and a high school team, when you watch a team like the Panthers, what do you see in players like that, and what do you want to see in your players to kind of reflect those styles of play?
So I feel like first and foremost, what makes Florida so strong of a team is their depth and how top to bottom they just keep coming at you. Just one line after another. Bang, 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 bang. Whereas some other teams, they may be a little bit more top-heavy, where their superstars kind of take control. And, you know, if their superstars don't have a big game, it's kind of a dud. You're seeing it a little bit now with the Dallas Stars, where their big guns really aren't scoring. And they're not – the lower end of the lineup really isn't producing at a level where they need to. Whereas Florida – you don't know where you're going to get the production from, and that's okay. You have your superstars, you have your Barkov, your Kachuk, you have those kind of guys. But top to bottom, look at your third line. Your third line, you got guys like Brad Marchand, Listerine, and guys like that who at any point can take over a game, right? And you look back at the Toronto series where Game 7, it was the third line that dominated, right? It was Brad Marchand, it was Listerine who had the big goal. It was those third line guys who really stepped in and produced, right? So they grind you away, they forecheck, they just play ultimate playoff style hockey where it's a dogfight in the playoffs, right? It's not necessarily just a sprint where it's your best guys go up and down the ice. It is a full unit. The teams that win the cup are the best teams, the best units, right? And I, as a coach myself, I sit there and I bring that into my teams in the sense of everyone has roles. And I believe that you can't have a full team of goal scorers. You can't have a full team of superstars. You have to have different lines that know their roles, right? I need to know that I've got 5 guys. Sometimes the 5 guys I have on the ice when I'm down a goal is very different than the 5 guys I have on the ice when I'm up a goal, right? You need to know who's your role players, who are your defensive shutdown guys, who are your guys who, all right, you may give up a goal, but I know you're going to score a goal, right? And it's all about getting the players to buy in. And especially at the youth level, that's not always the easiest. Everyone wants to score, right? Everyone wants to be the superstar, be the face. Everyone wants to do that. It's hard convincing a kid to be the guy who may not score at all, but to play shutdown defense, especially if you're a forward. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll start with my high school first. It's, the high school level. Last year, coaching Fairlawn, we had a good team. We had a very good team that, the season didn't end the way we wanted it to. But my first line, they accounted for probably 80 to 90% of my scoring. And that's okay because my second line was 3 guys who were some of my best penalty killers, were good defensive forwards, and they knew that, and they played their role. And sometimes when you tell someone, I just want you to go out there and not get scored on, that might sound negative. That might sound like, oh, I don't trust you, just don't get scored on. No, you're out there because I know that you can shut down. I don't care if you score or not. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I have guys who will score. I need to know that you're not going to give up a goal, and that's your job. Go out there, not get scored on. And it's about role players. And to circle back to the playoffs, Florida's role players are clicking on all cylinders. That's why this is, they're in the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd year in a row. And yeah, they're playing as a team. Paul Maurice has them really locking in on what they need to do as a unit, as a team. Everyone's playing their role, and that's what you have to do too. And it's not easy getting kids to buy into that, kids and parents to buy into that, because there's a lot of outside noise sometimes that eliminates that. I mean, for you, you're a player as you play high level club, you're a strong defenseman and stuff like that. And your experience playing club and playing high school, you've been on teams that have been very good. You've been on teams that made nice state runs. You've been on teams that made playoffs, and you went to nationals this year with your Blues team.
Mm-hmm.
From your experience, what's the difference between a team that has all the talent in the world and does nothing versus a team that will go to nationals, that will make a deep state run? Like where's your difference there?
So for me, this year going to nationals with my Blues team, it definitely was an eye-opening experience to how a team can work together and how a team can put aside, like you said, wanting to be the goal scorer and wanting to be the number one option to instead think about the team as a whole. So in the past seasons, I've been on cutting edge teams and different high school teams that have been, very, very, talent heavy and stacked, and had a lot of guys who could go out there and, bury goals and, make a nice move and dangle and score and do all that, but lacked the mindset and the awareness to play a role in the third line and play a role, killing penalties and maybe only going out there once every 3 shifts. And this year on my Blues team, it was definitely a different experience where you saw guys going up and down the lineup. You saw guys, maybe 1 week playing on the first line, the next week they're on the third. And it wasn't, a malicious thing. It wasn't a personal thing, and nobody took it that way. And that's why we found success, because everybody kind of put away their opinions, put away how they felt about where they were playing, and kind of just put their heads down and worked. And we knew that we all had a goal going into the season. The goal was nationals and nothing less. So I think when you can find a group of guys who really wants to buy in on a specific goal, that's when you see the most success, because then people aren't as bogged down with their personal points and how many goals they're scoring and how many assists they have and how much minutes on the ice they're getting. Everyone's just collectively building towards the goal that we put together at the beginning of the season. So this season definitely showed me that when you're in a situation where you can really get a whole team to buy in for one set goal and you want to find that success, it's a lot easier to have guys, sacrifice their personal agendas to kind of build for the success of the team. I think also part of it was a lot of us, it was our last year playing club hockey. So a lot of that opinion stuff was kind of out the window because everybody just wanted to succeed in their last year. But I think that the biggest thing that I took away from this year is when you're put with the right group of people and you have the right mindset and the right goal going into the year, it's very, I wouldn't say easy is the right word, but it's easier to succeed when you're not dealing with all the outside noise. So I think that in the past with high school teams that I've been on, certain club teams that I've been on, that hasn't been the case. And you've had to deal with, parents who have certain opinions, kids who have certain opinions, and they kind of get bogged down and get stuck on, I need to be playing this much, I need to have this many points, I need to be put out in these situations. When you can find yourself in a program and a team where you can find a lot of guys who put that stuff aside and simply just want the most success for the team, that's kind of how you find it. I think when you look at the playoffs, I mean, you guys got guys like Marchand who have been first-line players their whole career, all-stars, Hall of Famer, and now he's playing third line. He has no issue with that, and that's the type of player that I think coaches look for these days, especially the way that youth hockey has been progressing, is guys who are okay with moving up and down the lineup and playing different roles. Because as a player and as a coach, you will find the most success with the more guys who are able to sacrifice their own personal achievements for the greater good of the team.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And especially the high school level, you have to find that right group of guys, because high school goes by so fast. You got 4 years, and that's it. And before you know it, those 4 years are over. And I mean, I've seen that. I'm going into my 4th year with Fairlawn, and kids who were freshmen on the team, and they're seniors now. And it's crazy how fast that goes. And to have the right mindset and to have the right group of guys is so important. I remember our first year, we struggled a lot, but we were very young. I knew we were going to be good the next couple of years because all of our best players were freshmen and sophomores. And I knew we didn't have a lot of graduating seniors. So if you can get that group to really buy in over the next 3 years, you would have a good window of opportunity to really win. And we did that the past couple of years. It's, we won 6 games the first year, and then I think we won like 32 games over the next 2 years. And that's because you had the group together and they played their roles and they came together and it's whatnot. And I've had parents ask me, here at Cutting Edge, what level does my kid need to play high school? What, is it true my kid needs to be playing AAA to play high school? My kid needs to be playing AA to play high school? And I say no. I don't care what level your kid plays, especially if you're going to public school, high school. If you're going to private school, it's a little different. If you're going to, you go to Bergen, you go to Bosco, you go to, whatever school, St. Joe's. It's a little bit different when you're going to private school. But if you're going to public school, high school, playing high school hockey at public school, it doesn't matter where you play. It does not matter where, I always recommend as a coach, play club. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be playing club. I'm saying you should play club. I don't care where you play. I tell all my players, I don't care where you play. You should be playing year round. It will only help you. But I don't care if you're playing B hockey. I don't care if you're playing A hockey, AA, AAA. I don't care, because at the end of the day, we've had success with our teams at Fairlawn because the coaching staff, myself, Coach Craig, Coach Donnie, the 3 of us together as a unit, we instill the discipline and our own values into the team, as far as, like we just talked about, the depth, the role. Everyone is a team. Those are the mindset that we try to instill. I've got guys on my second line who, played, who just play A hockey. I've had guys who played first line who play A hockey, right? Defensemen, the guys who play significant minutes play A or B hockey, and that's okay. And because they play as a unit, they play their role. You take their skill set, what they're good at, and you put them in a situation for them to be successful based off of their skill set, and you have them play their role. I'm not going to ask a kid who's only played A hockey his whole life to go out there and score me 40 goals. It's unrealistic. But maybe that kid is really good at winning faceoffs. Maybe that kid is really good at playing defensive hockey, and he's a good forechecker. He blocks shots. He's a good penalty killer. Like, those roles are what you need to do. And keep in mind too, I always say, when you look at NHL players and you look at guys who have built a career off of being 3rd or 4th line guys, right? Right now it's the Matt Rempe's of the world. It's the Ryan Reeves of the world. It's, go back a little bit, Dan Carlson, some of the Flyers. I'm drawing a blank. It's driving me crazy.
But those
kind of players who, they make careers out of being those pesky 4th line guys that you absolutely hate. Right? Mm-hmm. Back when I was younger, it was, guys like Colton Orr when he played in the Rangers, right? Like, guys like that, they were pesky, just hard-nosed grinders, just guys who would go out there, fight, punch you in the teeth, give you 10 minutes of hockey, and that was their role. Mm-hmm. But when they were kids, they were the best players on their youth team. They played AAA hockey growing up. At one point, they were probably first line, second line goal scorers on their AAA teams, right? And at some point in their career, they got up and they played junior hockey, they played college hockey, wherever they went. They got to the top, upper echelon in the hockey world. And at some point they realized, I can no longer as a player score 20, 30, 40 goals. I'm just not that skilled. These guys, when you're that high up, the skill differential is so small, so small, right? So they have to find out a new role, figure out a new role that differentiates themselves. How can I stay in the league? And maybe my way of staying in the NHL is to be a 3rd line, hard forechecking guy, a penalty killer. Go out there, block shots, right? Like, that is my role. Go out there to hit somebody. Go out there to fight somebody, And the sooner you recognize that as a player, the better, because you carve out a role for yourself and you figure out what you're really good at. Again, you may not be a goal scorer, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. That is okay if you're not an elite goal scorer. Find what you do really well and find your niche and sit into that spot and take your craft and really hone in on your craft and be that role player sometimes, right? And I feel like the term role player is sometimes taken negatively of, they're just a role player, they're low on the depth, but not necessarily. Maybe your role is you are the goal scorer. That's your role. You're the elite goal scorer, right? So find your role. Absolutely. And that's where you got to fit in, and that's what makes good teams good. Yeah, it's everyone knows their spot. I roll on my teams. Some high school teams, they go out there, they play their first and second line every time. They play their first line every shift, and that's it, right? I play 3 lines.
Yeah.
My third line may not get as much time as my second line,
They play.
but they play.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need to be successful. You need to be able to have a third line that you can trust to put out there.
Mhm.
Because if you don't, and you're just running your first and second line out there every shift, your first line's gassed by the third period.
Yeah,
They're
you're running
done.
them to the ground.
They're cooked,
Exactly.
right? And then they don't have the energy to go out there in a 1-goal game and score that goal to win the game.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have faith in your depth players, and you have to know that your third line guys, your role players, your guys who are a little bit lower on the depth chart are going to go out there and they're not going to hurt the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be able to go out there and take what they're good at, what they add to the team, and give you success on the ice.
Yeah.
And that's what you need.
Absolutely.
You need that.
Yeah, no. I think so, at least for me, in my experience, so for Montclair Hockey, right before we go out on the ice every game in our locker room, big sign says, know your role, do your job. And I think that's kind of like the words I've kind of lived by, at least in my 4 years at Montclair, and been trying to spread out to a lot of the kids I work with, that I play with. I think that mentality, the know your role, do your job. Like you said, role player, like a lot of times gets a negative connotation that you're coming off the bench, you're not really playing a big role, you're not playing big minutes. But at the end of the day, no team will ever succeed with 3 lines of goal scorers. No team will ever succeed with 3 lines of grinders. You need a kind of a depth to it. And I think that what a lot of players, like you said, don't really understand is that it's okay to play a deeper role. It's okay to be a 4th line guy. There's no issue in that. There's actually a lot of like strength and pride you should have in that, because you're able to go out there and, benefit for your team and help your team. The way I always think about it is every team has 3 goal scorers and every team has 2 offensive defensemen at the most. That means that there's 4 spots for guys who can play defensive roles and 3 lines of forwards of guys who play a completely different role than going out and scoring. So I think that guys kind of get lost in that thought where it's like, I have to be a goal scorer, I have to be an offensive defenseman. At the end of the day, there's not a lot of spots for that. There's a lot more spots if you can bring a different role and a different niche craft to your team, because you make yourself more useful. Nobody wants a guy who thinks he's a goal scorer and goes out and finishes with 15 points on the year and is minus 20. That just hurts a team. But a team does like a guy who maybe finishes with 5 or 6 points in a 20-game season, but is plus 20 and wins a lot of faceoffs. So you got to really kind of find where you fit in on a team. And just because you're not the first line goal scorer, that doesn't mean anything. Especially this year for me, when I came to a new team, I was used to being a number 1 first power play offensive defenseman guy. Quickly found out that might not be my role in this team. It doesn't mean I'm not going to play. It doesn't mean it's any harm to me. It doesn't hurt me at all. It just means I have to find a different role to find a way to benefit my team. Just because I found I was going to be killing a lot more penalties, I was going to be playing a lot more defensive minutes than I really had before, you can't let that hurt you. You can't let that bother you, because you have to understand that the coach sees, you understand it, of course, as a coach. The coach sees everything. The coach sees the whole picture. The coach put together a team for a reason. He brings everybody in for a reason because he has a specific role. He or she has a specific role that they see for you. And trying to force yourself into a different role and force yourself into a position that you want to play, it doesn't help anybody. That hurts you, that hurts your coach, and that hurts the team. Because you were brought in for a reason to play a certain thing. And maybe that changes throughout the year. Maybe you find a different role, a different type place in the team for yourself. But trying to find it yourself is not the way. You do what you can, and the coach will put you in the right situation.
No, I totally agree. I feel like you bring up a good point about, defensemen, right? Everyone wants to be nowadays everyone wants to be a scorer, right? Everyone gets the recognition of, the Norris Trophy has turned into the best offensive defenseman wins the Norris, right? It's everyone recognizes Cale Makar, the Adam Fox, the Bouchards of the world who score a ton of points, but you need guys out there who will lock it down too, right? Like you said, 1 or 2 offensive defensemen. That's really all you need on the team, because of your 6 defensemen, you need guys who actually play defense, right? 100%. Guys who may only have 10 points on the season, but they play shutdown defense, and that goes down to the roles, right? Everyone talks about, like you said, like I just said, Bouchard, but what about Matthias Ekholm, right? They don't get the recognition. Or everyone talks about nobody really talks about Jacob Slavin as much as they should. Mm-hmm. A shutdown defenseman,
100%,
right? Miro Heiskanen, right? These are guys who, some of these guys, they'll put up their points still also. It's a little bit different. But you need the complementary side to the offensive defenseman, right? You can't just have essentially five forwards on the ice. Sometimes some of these offensive defensemen are basically just a fourth forward playing, right? And they're a little bit of a liability on defense. It happens, right? So you need that guy who's that safety net to be back for when your offensive defenseman sometimes is a little bit of a defensive liability.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it is. That's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
When these guys are playing, they're looking for points, they're looking to score, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's the reason why you can't have so many of them, because you can't be going out, like you said, there with five forwards on the ice. You're asking to give up a goal. So that's why when you're a player and you're looking to find a way in a new team, maybe you're taking a step up to the AAA level, do the easy things to make a coach look for you. Come out, work your ass off in practice and tryouts. Play good defense. Like I said, there's really only one or two offensive defensemen on each team, and there's only one or two goal scorers on each team. So finding your role as a defensive player and as a deeper player than just a scorer can go a really long way. And I think that a lot of coaches will say that, and a lot of, if you're trying to take the step up to the next level, that's what they look for most of the time. Guys who are offensive defensemen, they're found at a young age. There's a certain level of talent that you have to be playing at a high level offensively as a defenseman. The other things are very easy to learn. Where to be positionally, getting stronger, getting faster. That stuff that's just work. Some of the offensive nature of the game you just have to understand, but defensively, that's something you can pick up, and that's so valuable to a team. The next thing I kind of want to talk to you about, though, was as a coach, obviously coaching at both the club and high school level, for new parents who maybe this is the first time they're going through this whole experience, who don't really understand what to expect coming into hockey, what is something that you think they should take into their first high school seasons that differs from club? What are the things that a lot of newer parents might not understand about high school hockey and how it differs from the club game?
I think the first thing to realize when you're in high school hockey is the big difference between a senior and a freshman, right? And once you're in high school hockey, you're essentially playing 18U. You're playing 18U hockey, whether you're a 14-year-old freshman or you're an 18-year-old senior, you are playing 18U hockey, right? So sometimes coming into high school, you may be a freshman who's playing, they're used to playing, they're playing 14UA or 14U AA, and you might come into a team that's pretty good and they're senior heavy. Your child may not get a ton of ice time, and that's just the way it is, because your child is 14 years old and they're 5'6" and weigh 90 pounds. The difference between an 18-year-old A player and a 14-year-old AAA player is still massive, right? That 18U A player is more experienced, they're more mature, they're older, they're bigger, they're stronger, all of that. So the size difference really is a little bit eye-opening. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing to really keep into consideration, is the age difference of just the physical, mental, emotional maturity between a freshman and a senior is just massive. Mm-hmm. Often you see teams of, who make deep state runs, or, they win, they win playoffs, they win their leagues and whatever. They may not have on paper the most talented roster, mm-hmm. but a team that has 10 to 12 seniors will have a better season than a team that is mostly freshmen and sophomore. Yeah. Now, that team that is a bunch of freshmen and sophomores who may struggle that first year, like we did our first year, they're only going to get better. Yeah. But heavy senior teams typically do better. I remember a couple years ago, 2 years ago, Tenafly had a very good year. They had about 13 seniors. They were the number one seed in public co-op. They were a senior heavy team. They were very experienced. They had very good chemistry. Mm-hmm. They had their top end guys, but most of their team were like AA players, a couple B players. They didn't have a ton of top end talent, but they played as a team, and they were older and they were experienced, and they were just a very strong group. Yeah. That was the year they lost to Knowles in the sectional finals, and Knowles was just a monster of a team. Knowles won states, but that does play a huge difference. The age does play a huge difference, right? And, the other thing to really keep in mind is the high school season is both a marathon and a sprint at the same time. Yeah. It goes by super fast, and it also feels like it takes forever sometimes. Yeah. Because you're going every day. You're basically going every day. You're playing 20 games in the span of 3 months, and you're practicing, and you're it's a lot of hockey. And finding that balance between high school and club is tough sometimes. And I think burnout is real, and
Absolutely.
finding time away from the ice, even if it's for a day, even if it's for something, just is important to have a rest day every now and then. So I just think that's where it gets tough, finding that balance. I feel like I see it in club hockey, when you get to 14U, 16U, 18U, and you see teams that, or players that come into their club tryouts, and they're looking for full season. I want full season 16U. I want full season 18U, because they want to play that full season of hockey. It's hard. It's a lot.
Yes.
It is a lot of hockey if you're playing full season. That's why we do a little bit of a modified, where we do, once high school season for 16U hits, we kind of chop it down a little bit, because we tried that full season with your team when you were with us, and you see the burnout. And we learned from when we saw you with your group, because we saw the burnout. And by the time you guys had very good teams, and you were top teams in the EJ and all this. But by the time you guys got the playoffs in February, you guys were so burnt out and so cooked that you guys couldn't perform in the playoffs, because you guys were just done. Yeah. You guys were checked out because there was just so much hockey, right? So finding that balance between high school and club is very important.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, just the speed, just the size, just the sheer size between seniors and freshmen.
It's a big gap.
It's a big gap. It's a big gap.
Yeah. And I don't think people really understand truly how big of a gap it is, because you have to understand, even like you said, if a guy's a BA 18-year-old, he's still an 18-year-old man. That's somebody who's gone through a good majority of puberty. They are on the path to being an adult, versus a 14-year-old who's freshly out of middle school, just really getting used to high school, let alone playing at that level. Yeah. So I think that what at least in my experiences throughout my career, that parents must understand is, first off, I think people, especially hockey parents, lose the understanding that high school hockey is a high school sport. Just like your kid plays freshman team on the football team his freshman year, and he plays freshman team on the lacrosse team his freshman year, just because the hockey teams maybe don't have as many kids trying out, there's not as many roster availability, just because there's less kids playing, that doesn't mean your kid is entitled to play like they are in club. And I think kind of parents almost lose that, in the sense of where, because throughout club hockey, they play so much. And a lot of the times you do see, if you're going to see a freshman play in any sport, a lot of the times it is hockey. I think parents do lose themselves a little in thinking that right off the bat, freshman year, your kid plays AA, they're entitled to play right away. And I think that's not true. And I think there's scenarios where that works. And I think that some teams, with the talent that they have going into it, for example, my freshman year, I was lucky enough where I did get to play a lot. Part of that was because we only had 13 kids returning the year before and only 2 defensemen. That put me in a position where, even if I wasn't necessarily physically ready to play, which I was not, it gave me an opportunity to play. What I think some parents don't understand, and what they lose, is that it is a high school sport. Not everybody plays in a high school sport. High school sports are supposed to be purely based off of talent and skill and who the coach wants to put out there. Club, you're paying a lot of money. There's a lot more invested into it. That's where I understand we're at the A, AA, even lower AAA levels. Most kids should be getting on the ice. When it comes to high school, it's just like any other high school sport. You can't go into it and expect your kid to be able to be going out equal amounts as the AAA senior captain. It's just not how it works. And I think from what I've noticed in my experience playing throughout my 4 years in high school, what I've noticed in my friends' experience throughout their 4 years playing high school, is that there are some times where kids kind of lose that, and parents kind of lose that mindset. And I think it's good to go into it and understand that you might not play your freshman year, you might not play your sophomore year, but just having the ability to trust in the coach and understand that you're on the right path, even if you're not big enough at the time, it still works out in the end.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like high school hockey, it's a 4 year. It's a 4 year thing, right? Yeah. It's a 4 year development plan, and my mindset as a coach is the best 9 forwards are going to play. The best 6 defensemen are going to play. That's it.
Yeah.
If you have to be one of the best 9 forwards on my team to get regular minutes. Mm-hmm. It's not about, my kid goes to practice every week and he works really hard. Yeah, he does work really hard, and I appreciate his work ethic. And, he'll get rewarded. If he starts developing and gets better than some of the players, yes. If he's going to go out there and be able to contribute on the ice, yes. But if he's not going to be able to go out there and contribute, and he's going to be a liability to my team, it's not fair to the other 14, 15 skaters out there who also go to practice every day, who also work just as hard every day as your child.
Yeah.
Right? And I have that mentality of in high school hockey, if your child has a question about playing time, has a question about anything, they can ask me. I don't want the parent emailing me, oh, why is my kid not playing? Why is my kid not dressing in games? Why is my kid not on the power play? My response to that is your child can come up to me after practice, after a game, and they can ask me.
Yeah.
This is I am not just teaching hockey, I'm teaching life lessons. These are 4 years of high school to an opportunity to grow on and off the ice. We're developing people. Yeah. We're not developing hockey players. I'm developing people. We're developing adults, right?
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity now to also improve and learn life lessons onto how to interact with people in the real world for the students, right? You're interacting with a superior. Your coaches are your boss, your superior, right? This is how you learn life lessons and you mature mentally and emotionally, right? And I am a very open book when it comes to my players. I feel like I'm very inviting. I'm easy to talk to. I encourage my players to talk to me. I want to have that open line of communication to talk to me, whether it's talking to me, whether it's talking to my assistant coaches, anyone who you should be able to feel comfortable talking to any of your coaches.
Yes.
And your coaches should be able to provide an open line of communication and create an environment where the players feel that they can come talk to you if they have a question, if they have an issue.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to discuss as to why, what you can do better to improve, what you can do better to get on the ice more and get more ice time. And that open line of communication is very important in high school. It is very different in that sense of you're not entitled to anything. You are not.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is in high school. You got 4 years to grow. And like you said, just because your kids doesn't play as a freshman doesn't mean they're never going to play. I've got kids who didn't play regular varsity minutes till junior and senior year, and they played regular varsity minutes their junior and senior year, and they were productive for me. Their third and fourth year in high school. This past year, I had one freshman who played regular minutes, and he was, either sixth, fifth, or fourth defenseman on the team, depending on the day, right? Yeah. And to be honest, the only reason he really got significant minutes is because of a preseason injury. He was a kid who I expected to just play JV all year. And there was an injury. He stepped in and he kept his spot, and he played great. And now he's a kid who, for the next 3 years, I expect to be a contributing, a strong part of our defense corps for the next 3 years, right? My team's kind of going to be in a bit of a transition phase where we had some really top end talent graduate. So it's now the next wave of kids that are going to be coming up, and this is a kid who's going to be a very important part of that corps, right? So just because your freshman year or sophomore year you don't really play much doesn't mean you can't contribute to the team over the next couple of years. You see kids that quit after their freshman year because they didn't play, or they quit after their sophomore year because they didn't play. It's like, just hold off, because you will play. Exactly. You will play as you get older. Like, you'll play more. Yeah. We had a JV team. Like, it's not every. I know not every team has not every school has enough players for a JV team. But if your school has a JV team, just stick it out. Stick it out, because
1 year, 2 years, you never know.
You will get there. You will get there. It's no different than playing any other sport. Now, playing baseball, football, lacrosse. If you're a JV guy, your freshman, sophomore year, just stick it out. Stick it out, because 100%. At the end of the day, high school hockey is fun.
It is.
High school hockey is about fun, and it's a lot more fun when you win. And you pack the house, and you got all your friends coming to the games, and it's loud, and it's going crazy, and you're scoring goals, you're jumping into the glass, you're winning games. That is when high school hockey is the most fun. Mm-hmm. And I think the quicker kids realize that, the quicker they'll buy into everything, and the quicker they'll take it a little bit more seriously. Because I've seen too many teams and kids who come through here at Cutting Edge, and you see how talented their high school team is, and they don't do anything. They don't win. And you talk to them a little bit. Oh, what's your high school? Nobody really cares. Whatever. Everybody just we just kind of do the thing. And that's why your team sucks, dude.
Exactly.
Because no one cares.
Nobody's bought in.
Because no one's bought in.
Exactly.
Right. Like, your team is too talented to suck like they do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's because no one buys in. But when you buy in, it's more fun because you guys win. Exactly. And when you win, it's just There's no
Nothing's more fun than winning.
That's what I mean. I mean, you see it for you guys when you guys play MKA and you guys beat MKA and it's just a packed madhouse. That's nuts.
Yeah,
right.
Can't say we beat them in the last 6 years.
Okay, but yes, still, you
the
know
idea
the point,
of it, yes,
right?
the
Or
idea.
any other team that you
Even
guys
when you
play.
lose, it's still
when you
so much
lose,
fun.
like you go into these teams, any other rivalry games that you guys play. It's nuts. It's chaos. It's awesome. It's just a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like
it's to work for. It's really
when we 2 years ago when we went and we won the Big North Silver Cup. Right. It was just the ice vault was packed. We beat Lakeland 3-2. Scored a late goal in the third period. It was chaos. It was nuts. The glass was the kids were shaking the glass. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what high school hockey is about.
Yes.
It's about the last 4 years of your high school. Of your schooling, of the people that you grew up with, people who lived in your town, you've known since you were 8 years old, and now you're playing hockey with them for the last 4 years of just that brotherhood, that team of and going out there and playing as a whole unit and playing in front of your friends and family and winning games and come together for a common goal. Like that's what high school hockey is about.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one, unless you're going to Bergen, you're going to Bosco, you're going to these big schools, Del Barton, and you're a top-end elite AAA hockey player, and all this stuff. Nobody's coming to your public school high school hockey games and scouting it. It's not happening. They're looking
There's a
at
good
your
chance
club.
they don't even come to your private school high school games.
I mean, they're looking at your club. That's where people get scouted. That's all that stuff. But high school hockey is about having fun and playing with your team. And if you can go out and you win playoffs, we won the Big North Silver Cup, and we got honored at our town hall. And we got a day named after us in Fairlawn. That's how much it meant to the community. If Fairlawn, if we ever win states, man, I don't know what the town's going to do. Like if you can win states in high school, you're immortalized in your town and your community. But that's what it's about. It's about community. It's about family. It's about having fun with the people you've grown up with,
100%.
and buying in, taking it seriously. You take it a little seriously for 4 years, just for 4 years. Take it a little seriously, and you'll have a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
And I think people kind of lose that, and they kind of get stuck in. I mean, they get stuck in the sense of where they think about club hockey and high school hockey the same way. And when you start doing that is when you start really losing it, because like you said, high school hockey is the same as any other high school sport. It's about your town, it's about community, and it's about winning for the people you grew up with. And the more you get stuck on the playing time and who scores and this and that, the more you move away from what it's really about. So I think that any parent and any kid who's going into their high school career, maybe not really understanding what to expect. Like you said, lock in, don't really worry about playing time your first 1-2 years, and just really understand what it's about. It's not about points, it's not about scoring, it's about playing with your friends, playing in front of your friends at school, and winning for your community. And that's really all what it comes down to.
If you belong there, you deserve to play, you'll play. The best players will play. The best players will play.
That's the thing. It's like any other high school sport. The best guys, the best players will play. The best players will play.
And if you're not, it's because at that time you're not one of the best players, and that's okay. That's okay.
There's nothing
You'll develop,
wrong with
you'll grow, you'll get better, you'll get stronger. Physically, mentally, you will get better. And if you're not playing as a 14-year-old freshman who is 5'2", 80 pounds soaking wet, that's okay. That's okay because you will play as you grow.
Yes.
You get bigger, you get stronger, right? So just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Have
no
fun.
other sport do freshmen expect to play. It's really only hockey. So people got to just put that aside and have some fun. Yeah. It's a game, and it's supposed to be where you go to have fun. Club is where you go to take it all super serious. High school is where you go to have fun.
Yeah. Well, Log, this was a good first episode.
Absolutely.
We got to wrap this up. We're going to be coming at you all summer. Me, Logan, we'll get some guests in. We'll have some fun with it. Yep. Hope you guys enjoy. We're adding a little video here too. Again, this is Puck Drop Cutting Edge Season 2 in the summer, first episode. I'm Kevin Geist.
I'm Logan Brown.
Thanks for watching.